with the impact of that rapid erosion of the landslide on the Chilkotin River.
And while the worst-case scenario did not materialize, danger still exists from the debris flowing downstream.
Wow, guys, what a spectacle of nature that was and still is.
High above the Chilkotin River, a heritage cabin at Farwell Canyon hangs precariously from the edge of an eroding embankment. Moments later, the cabin is swept into the fast-moving waters, breaks apart, and disappears downstream. Chilkotin Nation says it was one of a handful of structures that have been lost.
I think just about everybody has taken a picture of themselves with the sand dunes in the background of that old cabin. It's now but a memory.
That Chilkotin River landslide, that massive landslide, 600 meters wide and 100 feet deep, 30 meters deep, has been breached, and now all the debris, a lot of debris, logs and sediments and all that stuff was flowing down the Chilkotin River, and that Chilkotin River meets with the Fraser River. That's a very large river that flows down into the greater Vancouver area, into the Lower Mainland, into the heavily populated areas there, and then it flows into the Pacific from there. And they said yesterday that it would reach, that the debris from that landslide would reach the Lower Mainland today.
Flowing water and massive amounts of debris started to flow into the Fraser River after a landslide had impacted the Chilkotin River last week.
So I want to show you in this video a few clips and interesting new information where you see how that looks and how massive this is and how it is looking down river, downstream at the Fraser River. So it is still a massive spectacle and danger levels still exist.
Wednesday afternoon, the province provided an update saying water flows peaked Tuesday night in the Fraser River. They have decreased significantly Wednesday morning, while inflows and outflows near the site of the landslide are starting to return to normal. Along with the positive decrease in water flow, provincial officials announced that approximately 30,000 cubic meters of woody debris has been removed between Hope and Agassiz by the Fraser River debris trap. While the trap continues to catch debris from the landslide, it's still making its way down the Fraser River. Muddy waters and large amounts of logs were seen west of the Fraser Regional District by Metro Vancouver Emergency Services Wednesday afternoon, and experts remain on site to continue to remove debris from the Fraser.
They did say now that the debris and everything is flowing down, we could see more landslide and slides in different areas, and that's why there's still caution people stay away from the river banks.
The province says there is a continued increased risk of additional landslides and bank erosion on the Chilkotin from the blockage to the confluence, while a number of communities along the Fraser have shut down their waterfront to the public. People are still advised to stay away from potential flood areas due to risk of slopes failing and being swept away by the water that is still riddled with debris from the slide.
So the landslide surge is reaching the Lower Mainland, and there's communities like Maple Ridge, New Westminster. They have closed access to public areas alongside the Fraser River because, of course, the water level has risen a bit, but there's so much debris coming down, as you can see here.
We're just in front of the Fraser River, where you can see behind me, cars have been parking at this spot all day, everybody wanting to try and get a glimpse of that debris that's expected to flow down. They are being met with signs all around the Fraser River, of course, asking people not to enter. You can see the debris starting to flow from the Chilkotin into the Fraser River on Monday and make its way downstream.
That's the Chilkotin River, come through the canyon, that's where it joins the Fraser River.
This was the scene by Tuesday with sediment following. In Lytton, logs were scattered across the river. Where they'll end up is the big concern. Slopes remain unstable, boat launches are closed, and some campsites under evacuation.
And I want to show you a picture, an aerial picture of how the debris looks when it was or is still in the Chilkotin River in the Caribou region. That's what the region is called in British Columbia, in the northern part of British Columbia. So you see all the brown stuff. I mean, the water is brown from all the soil and debris and rocks. And then you see this reddish brownish stuff. That's all the logs. And the landslide happened in an area that had wildfires. So a lot of dark brown dead logs that have been burned, or trees were coming down that slide with it, and all that is being washed down the river now. So you can see the sheer amount.
Very possible for the sheer amount of debris carried in this water to be quite dangerous to people and boaters on the water. And so it is largely about the behavior of this water.
One guy that lives in Lillooet, you can see it here on the map. It's, well, I wouldn't say halfway down, but it's a little bit down. He said he could hear when it was coming down the river. He could hear wood breaking and roaring before it was coming. So before that surge of water was racing down the Fraser River after it broke free from that landslide upstream.
But there is concern the push of the water will bring with it debris, and the mayor is concerned about possible dangers next spring.
As the water drops, that wood's going to be on the beach all the way up. Next spring, when the water comes up, all of that's coming down. All of that's coming down, so there's going to be a lot more debris next year than there is this year even.
The natural dam created from the landslide is decreasing 2.5 meters an hour. The worst case scenario still appears to have decreased drastically. For now, it's become a spectator sport, with some lining the Fraser River for one thing.
To see the debris. I mean, they played it up so much that it's going to come. Now I want to see it.
We were waiting to see if it was going to get, tangled up at Hell's Gate or whatnot. And
I'm 74 years old and I ain't never seen no landslide before, or the end results of the landslide. So, but I got my water and I got my cigarettes.
And there's more reports from residents and business operators. They described watching the power of water and debris churning from the Chilkotin River landslide towards British Columbia's Lower Mainland. They are saying, for example, you could hear an abnormal sound coming from the river. That must have sounded interesting, scary, I don't know. So they're saying you could hear that noise. You could hear branches breaking. It was almost like a roar. A roar. That word we know, like the earthquakes that keep happening at the potential supervolcano Campi Flegrei in Italy. So, spectacle of nature. And then in the other communities downstream, Lytton, for example, that has burned down to the ground in a wildfire and is in the process of being rebuilt. And then there is an air tram, like a gondola that goes over the river. It's called Hell's Gate. They said they could hear the river's flow as the water and debris was passing through.
A spectacular sight in Hell's Gate in the Fraser Canyon. Debris is starting to make its way down the river, with some logs getting stuck in narrower spots. AirTram workers are keeping a close eye on safety.
This is the narrowest point in the canyon on Fraser River, 33 meters wide. All that water needs to go somewhere, right?
Further down the Fraser River, communities are taking precautions. New Westminster shut down its boardwalk, and in Hope, signs are warning people not to enter due to the flood watch.
You can see this here on the map where this area was. And then unfortunately a cabin was destroyed, like a log cabin. The soil was washed out by the river and the debris underneath it, and then you can see it was slowly breaking into the river, and then the river was having no mercy. It was taking it downstream. So in Lytton, for example, they said when the water was coming, the water levels were temporarily rising 3 meters, so 10 feet, before it was reaching more normal levels there today. So they're saying the water flow that was coming down there, it was similar to spring runoff conditions, but what was different was far more debris in the river. Another residents said there's a lot more activity in the water with all the logs crashing into each other, and that makes a sound as well, in addition to the real onslaught of water. So they're saying this has a lot of power. And now we will have to see if all these logs are being washed into the ocean. It'll probably end up at the beaches that surround the greater Vancouver area. It'll end up at the downtown Vancouver beaches. There's always logs being washed on the shore. It'll be in Richmond, Delta, basically along that coastline. And depending on where it's flowing, could reach the coast of Washington in the US. So these logs will probably show up on shore again, and it's, you know, especially for boating in the Fraser River, it's not so great. And they will be washed there too, to the banks of the river. But if you're in open water and these logs are on top of the surface and you have a little boat and they hit you in the wrong spot, especially if there's waves and wind, it can damage your boat. And that's not so great. So we will have to wait and see. I have heard that they're trying in some areas to catch the logs. I don't know how well that is going. But here's another picture where you really see where the Chilkotin River meets the Fraser River, and that massive amount of debris and logs is being washed into the Fraser River. They were a little bit worried that all these logs would clog the river again at a narrow space. That's where Hell's Gate is. That's the narrowest space of the river. But luckily, so far, everything's moving downstream. And it was good for business, for the air tram. A lot of people did come. They wanted to see that surge of water that was released by this artificial dam. And there's also like an interesting clip where reporters from CBC Vancouver did ride along with the captain of a water taxi. So there's lots of water taxis in this area to bring you from one side to the other, and from one area to the other. That was near the Mission area.
Charlie Cathwood, I'm a captain with a water taxi business here in Mission, BC. And we're going to go have a look at the Fraser and the debris in it right now. I don't know if you can see the mountain in the background, but I went up to there about 9:30 this morning, and about the same amount of debris. So the big pulse has got spread out. If this debris all builds up on top of a log boom, it could put too much pressure on it, break the logs or the wires that are holding it, and the same with a dock. If it all builds up on a dock, problems as well. This is more debris than we normally see in a spring freshet for the Fraser. There's quite a large amount.
So there's still the concern for the salmon. Everyone who lives in this area, we all cherish and value the wild salmon that we have here, and it needs to be protected. And they are due next week to go upstream in the river to get their babies, so to speak. One of the First Nations chiefs said that the slide and the damage from the rushing water could impact critical salmon runs that are heading for spawning areas upstream on the Chilkotin River and the Chilko Lake that is not far from there. So the salmon run is currently happening. They're making up their way up along the Fraser River, and they are due to arrive at the Chilkotin River this weekend, as early as this weekend. And some Chinook salmon have already passed by the landslide area, but others are still in the river downstream from the slide. And for those guys, it's not so great with all the debris coming down. So they have launched an emergency salmon task force to call on all levels of government, including the US, to take measures to preserve the sockeye and Chinook stocks.
Concern now centers around migrating salmon, specifically the Chilko Lake Sockeye Run. Salmon is a vital resource for the nation, which says only 15 to 20% of the run 4 years ago made it to their spawning grounds due to the Big Bar Slide. And the current run is salmon from that challenging year.
So they have also called on the Fisheries Department to introduce automatic sport and commercial fishing restrictions to protect the Chilkotin River and the Chilko Lake salmon.
It's a serious issue that we'll be working on to trying to make it safer for the salmon that come up and for just our people in general.
And also the majority of adult sockeye salmon are expected to arrive at that point where the Fraser River and the Chilkotin River meet, usually around the 3rd week in August. And coho salmon will not arrive there until the early fall.
There's frustration here as well. The chiefs believe more could have been done to prevent the slide following wildfires in 2017.
The fires that eliminated all the trees right up and through all of our rivers, making the banks, the river banks, very unstable. And now it's what we've predicted has come true.
Meetings are planned with provincial and federal officials. Meanwhile, everyone is being urged to avoid the area, especially the riverbanks, which remain extremely unstable.
Don't go walking up to the riverbanks, and you might get washed away in the river. And you get washed away in the color of the water and stuff. There's no hope. There's no chance for anybody to survive anything like that.
I'll show you an announcement here of the city of Westminster. Here is a map where Westminster is. So this is basically, this blends into like Burnaby and Vancouver, Richmond. This is all one area basically. And they have a nice boardwalk. There's condos and you can walk along the river and it's usually not a problem. But they have announced that it has been closed until further notice because of that fast moving water and the debris. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for tuning in. And if you want to hear more news from all over the world, check out my new channel where the task is on to reach the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours that I need. I'm going to upload 1 video per day, roughly there as well. And 1 to 2 videos per day will continue to be uploaded here on The Pulse with Silky. So thanks guys for checking over to my other channel. So the ones who haven't yet, please go over there. We're at roughly 500 subscribers. I need 1,000. So I have 42,500 here. So take a quick jump, guys. The link is in the description of this video. And I have linked the new channel also on my channel page from On the Pulse with Silky. I'm reporting about recent news and not so good news regarding all the bad stuff that is happening in the Middle East. So I want to use this channel just to have like other news that do not concern Mother Nature. So this here is more Mother Nature. And thanks so much guys for supporting this channel, to make this channel what it is, for buying me the coffees to keep me up and running to make all these videos, and for your supers in the chats and in the comments here. So that's absolutely awesome. I'm very, very grateful for that. Check out my latest Grindavik update. I've been in Vancouver with the doggies. They keep running around behind me all the time because of course they see a lot of other dogs and balls flying, and I was trying to film holding my phone in one hand and the leashes in the other one, and the doggies kept crossing the lines and running here and there, and then people coming patting the dogs while I was filming, and I'm just like, go away, leave me alone, because then the dogs are even more agitated. So check that out. The links are in the end screen. Thanks so much guys. Bye bye.